we'll catch you up.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Rabbi.
Before we start, just want to announce today's learning is sponsored by Lev Bendersky to commemorate the yahrzeit of his father, Meir ben Moshe, whose yahrzeit is being observed today. Shem Shavan Aliyah.
Amen.
Okay. Mishnah is Pesachim, Parak Tes, Chapter 9, Mishnah, Mishnah 5. Ma ben Pesach Mitzrayim the Pesach Doris. What differences were there between the carbon Pesach that was offered in Egypt before the Jewish people left and the carbon Pesach that's brought for all generations? But until now, I've been discussing the differences between the Pesach Rishon and the Pesach Sheni. And now we're discussing the differences between the very first carbon Pesach brought by the Jewish people while they were still in Egypt and the carbon Pesach they have a mitzvah to bring for all generations. The first thing mentioned is Pesach Mitzrayim, the carbon Pesach offered in Egypt. It was taken from the 10th of Nisan. Hashem told the Jewish people, take the animal that you're going to take, the lamb or the goat, whatever it is that you're using for the carbon Pesach. 4 days before Pesach, you should take it and designate it. That's going to be your carbon Pesach. Its designation was from the 10th day of Nisan. That was something that was done by the first Pesach. It did not have to be done all the other carbon Pesachs. Any other carbon Pesach that you bring for all generations, you can be Erev Pesach and you designate your animal for the carbon Pesach. And this is and as they bring down here in the notes from the Tosfos Yantif, that it's derived from the Torah that this law of only taking it on the first Pesach from the 10th of Nisan, and it was only relevant to the first carbon Pesach, not for other carbon Pesachs that we brought afterwards. Next, V'ton hazah ba'agudas eizov ala mashkav al she'em mezuzos. Another thing they had to do is, by the Pesach offering of Mitzrayim, that it required the sprinkling of its blood to be done by a bundle of hyssop on the lintel and on the two doorposts, right? That's what you had to do. They take the blood and they had to sprinkle it on the doorposts and the lintel to show that this is a Jewish home where the Makas B'char, smelling of the firstborn, shouldn't take place. That was something they had to do by the first carbon Pesach. It's understandable that you don't need to do that by the other carbon Pesachs, because it was clear that the whole reason for doing that was, again, basically to prevent Makas, the smiting of the firstborn, take place in the Jewish homes. That's not relevant for all other generations. Next, V'necha b'chipazon, and it was eaten in a hurried fashion, right? The Torah tells us, so shall you eat it, your loins girded, your shoes on your feet, and your staff in your hand, you should eat it in haste. It is a Pesach offering to Hashem. They had to eat it in a way like they were right about to leave. That's the way they had to eat it. That, again, they bring down here from the Tosfos Yantif, is derived from the Torah, that is not the manner by which you have to eat the Carbon Pesach for all generations. Now, then it says, B'layla echad, in one night. The first Carbon Pesach, how much time did you have to eat it? The first night. Pesach doires, and the Pesach, Carbon Pesach of all generations, Noye Kol Shiva applies all 7. Really?
Does it?
Carbon Pesach all 7 nights? Certainly not. So therefore, the Gemara says, we have to add some words here. That the B'layla Echad, the fact that you have one night to eat it, that applies by every carbon Pesach, whether it's the first one, whether it's the rest of them. But really what should be said is that it's eaten in one night, but the prohibition of owning chametz, when it came to the first Pesach, when it came to the Pesach Mitzrayim, when it came to the Pesach that they celebrated in Mitzrayim, meaning the night of they slaughtered it the 14th, they ate it the night of the 15th, they left the 15th, there was a prohibition. It was Pesach. You couldn't eat chametz. It was only for one day. The rest of afterwards, there was no prohibition of chametz. The prohibition of chametz by the first Pesach was only on the first day. So the way to read the Mishnah is B'layla echad. The carbon Pesach of Mitzrayim was eaten in one night, which is really applicable to every carbon Pesach. But the prohibition of chametz that was there only was for one day. And then the Mishnah continues the Pesach Doiris and the Pesach for all generations regarding the prohibition of possessing chametz. Noye Kol Shiva, that applies all 7 days of Pesach. So actually, it's more than just the possession of chametz, the eating of chametz. Okay, when it came to Pesach Mitzrayim, there they were forbidden to eat chametz for. Let me just make sure I'm getting this straight. Okay. However, the prohibition to eat chametz during Pesach applied in Egypt for only 1 day. The prohibition of eating chametz was only for 1 day. When it comes to when it comes to Pesach for all generations, the prohibition of eating chametz applies all 7 days. So when the Mishnah says "V'layla echad" in one night, that is not a difference between the Korban Pesach of Mitzrayim and the Korban Pesach of all generations. Every Korban Pesach is only for 1 night, but it really means to say it was eaten. The Korban Pesach was eaten for 1 night. And the prohibition of eating chametz by the first Pesach, what that was done in Mitzrayim, that was only for 1 day, while the prohibition of eating chametz for all generations on Pesach applies all 7 days of Pesach. Have a wonderful day, a wonderful Shabbos.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you, Rabbi. So what did they do the rest